Welcome to another video for TCW, Total Control Wrestling, the game that gives you total control. Today we're going to focus on the gameplay of TCW. How does it work? How do matches happen? How do I book shows? We're going to show you the quick and simple way to do all of those things using the TCW game system. We're not going to get into all the bits and pieces and details for everything that the game does. Most of those things are optional that allow players to include or exclude what they want to use and not use, track or not track, keep records of or not keep records. One of the great features of TCW is the ability to customize the system to work however you want it to, which lends to the name Total Control Wrestling. Joining me for today's demo video is...
Hi, I'm Ben. Outside of being a lifelong wrestling fan, I have a lot of experience in radio and television, so I can see how this would be a real TV program and put it together. So I'm excited.
Alright, well, the main idea of this video is to show you how the game presents the show you're watching and creating with the wrestlers from your promotion. There is a little bit of setup and preparation before all of this can happen, but I'm not going to walk through all of that. I'll show you the end results, give you a quick description of some of what these charts mean and what the stats mean, and I'll show you how they work. The rulebook will explain and teach you how to get all the setup done yourself whenever you're ready to play. So first, we have the show tracking sheet. This is going to be your main bookkeeping. This is where the main bookkeeping is done for your entire show as it comes together. Whenever you see the little graphic that's going to pop up on the screen, you'll see that the show is broken down first into segments, then with each segment further divided into encounters. Depending on your promotion size and the number of wrestlers that you use, the show could have as few as 3 or 4 segments, or even as many as 12. The guidelines for that are all included in the rulebook. For today's demo, we're going to run a show with just 4 segments, based on a roster of 16 wrestlers. I have already filled in the background information for the show, including the weekly show name, for our fictional promotion, as well as the location, the date, the show number. You can also see that our promotion has a couple of announcers, an interviewer, and an authority figure. Their names and their important stats are also already plugged in and ready to use. Next, we have the random wrestler chart. This is a very simple chart to fill out with all of the wrestlers in your promotion. The faces or the good guys go on one side, while the heels or the bad guys go on the other side. We're going to leave out the tweeners for now and just stick with good guys and bad guys for our demo. As you can see for this demo, we're going to use 8 faces and 8 heels. And every wrestler on each side of the chart has a corresponding number. Those are important for determining which wrestlers are featured in scenarios and matches on the show that we are about to create together. And just for the sake of simplicity in our demo, we're going to set up feuds and rivalries based on where the wrestlers are on the sheet. So, face number 1 and heel number 1, they're going to be rivals and in a feud. That would be Surfin' Scott Wavy and Handsome Henry Blair. Face number 2, Kurt Steele, he's going to be rivals with Lance Von Eisner. Faces number 3 and 4, that's a tag team, Matt Jeffries and Brad Andrews. And they're feuding with the heel tag team of Owen Sampson and Phil Taylor, who are heels number 3 and 4, and so on. Now, Ben has all the character wrestler sheets ready for reference. And I'm going to put you in charge of most of the dice rolling, and I'm going to handle the charts.
Sounds good.
All right. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, then let's start the show and see what happens.
All right.
All right, so we're going to start with segment 1 of our show. And every segment of a show starts with a scenario of some type. To find out what type of scenario, a percentile roll is made, and the random scenario chart is referenced. The random scenario chart gives a general scenario type, often with a number. For example, there are 3 different face scenarios, and there are 3 different charts focused on heel scenario interactions. Each of these charts has numerous possibilities for what can happen to the wrestler or wrestlers involved. So, let's find out what type of scenario we'll have to kick off the show. Ben, roll those percentile dice.
We have percentile dice, and we have a 78.
78. That I see is, according to the random segment chart, that is a face 1 segment. So that means we need to roll on the random wrestler chart over here on the face side to see which wrestler will be the focus of this scenario. So we have 8 face wrestlers. Ben's going to roll 1d8.
And we have a 2.
We have a 2. So now I'm looking at the random wrestler chart. wrestler number 2 is Kurt the Construction Worker Steele. So he's going to be the primary wrestler in this face segment.
All right, so now we'll roll the percentile dice to see what happens with Kurt.
Right.
And we have an 82.
So on face segment chart number 1, I'm going to check and reference number 82 in here. So checking that, I see, and here's the scenario word for word, and our graphics expert is going to put this up on the screen so you can see and follow along as I go. The face cuts a promo in the ring on his rival. The rival runs down and attacks, resulting in a pull-apart brawl. Face Mike, rival Charisma, interviewer Mike. So first we'll tell the story of what happens, then we'll get into the stats and feud aspects of an encounter. So we have Kurt the Construction Worker Steele. He's coming down to open the show for his interview, which is going to be conducted by the interviewer, which we have listed. That's Andrea Allison.
Yeah, and I can see him coming down the aisle. He's nothing but business. He's got his safety gear on, helmet, toolbox, the whole nine, and that is Kurt Steele. Andrea's waiting while he makes his entrance, and he, of course, like a gentleman, tips the hat.
Okay, but there's not a lot of showmanship for Kurt Steele, as evidenced by his low charisma score on his wrestler sheet of 25.
Yeah, and he's here to do what needs done and not much more after that. He's not really playing to the crowd, even though they like him, but he is the working man. Right,
okay. So he's in there with Andrea, and she starts asking him about his ongoing feud with that sneaky Lance Von Eisner. Now, for storytelling purposes, let's just say they've been feuding for a while, with Von Eisner constantly finding ways to aggravate poor Kurt Steele, whether he's cheating in matches or one-upping him in these scenarios that have been happening in their feud.
Yeah, so Kurt's cutting his promo. Andrea's sitting there asking how he's going to deal with the said sneakiness of Von Eisner. And Kurt says he's going to take care of him like he does with any problem, hit him with the jackhammer, put him down for good.
Okay. Well, I think that'd be a great time for Von Eisner to make his appearance from the scenario. Yeah. He's probably heard enough from the back, and out he comes, storming down the ring.
Oh, yeah, and Kurt can see him coming. He knows he's mad. He knows he's ready to get him, and it's going to be a confrontation.
Well, I'm sure our interviewer, Andrea Allison, sees this coming, too, and no way she's sticking around for any of the fisticuffs. She's going to bail out of there.
Yeah, that's not in her pay scale. She just dumps the mic. She's out the ring, and it's about to break loose, and I can see Von Eisner sliding into the ring, and he's ready to go.
Okay, all right, so what if Kurt cuts him off in the process? I mean, we figure he sees him coming, right? Especially if, with everything going on, he would probably start laying the boots to him as he's getting into the ring.
Oh, absolutely. He's a good guy. He's a baby face. He's a fan favorite, but he's not dumb. So he's going to go right for Von Eisner, especially with the history they have.
All right, well, our scenario says that they end up in a pull-apart brawl. So how do you want that to go down?
Oh, the sea of black and white officials. The zebras are coming down the ring. They're going to try to pull apart. The guys are fighting each other, trying to get any shot where they can, and it's basically going to be a pull apart.
All right. So eventually, though, they get control. They get one of these guys back up and backstage, finally calming the entire situation down.
Yeah, and eventually that's going to calm down, but what a way to start the show.
All right, yeah. So, now this is usually where someone would use the show tracking sheet to note what happened in scenario number 1. And you can note as much detail as you want. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. So, I would be writing down, Kurt Steele and Lance Von Eisner, confrontation to start the show. All right. So, now we're going to cover some of the stats and how they work to influence feuds in the game. Normally, each feud would have its own tracking sheet. I'm going to put that up. The graphics guy will put it up on the screen, but I've also got a copy of one here. But our graphics guy will do a much better job than I will putting that up there. And it keeps a record of all the history of encounters between rivals. So these feud tracking sheets have all the important info for the wrestlers involved in a feud, namely their charisma and microphone skills, because that's what plays into it. So if we go back to the scenario as I read it and how it was shown on the screen, you will see that it points out these attributes. In the scenario we just saw, it shows that the face, which is Kurt Steele, will check his mic, while the rival that came down, that was Lance Von Eisner, will check his charisma skill. And the interviewer, Andrea Allison, gets to check her mic skill. What does all this mean, and what does it do? Well, For each successful check made by someone involved in a segment, it adds heat to that feud. Basically, it indicates whether the fans cared about what they saw and whether they reacted to the characters in the ring. Now, in this instance, Kurt Steele was doing the talking. So his mic skill is going to be checked to see how effective he was at that. Von Eisner's appearance and actions mean his charisma skill needs checked to see if the fans reacted to him coming down to the ring. And then we've got the interviewer, Andrea Allison. She was there doing her part to make things important, so her talking will factor into the whole scenario as well, and we'll check her mic skill.
Yeah, essentially any character who plays a part in a scenario has a chance to get heat, even if they are just in a background or a minor role. Just by seeing scene or a part of it, a wrestler can remind fans of a feud, even if it's not part of the feud that's being seen at the moment.
Right, now, we are not going to cover every minor detail for how heat is built with feuds. We're going to give you a quick and simple demo without getting too in-depth. So using this particular scenario, we need to see how the crowd reacted to Kurt Steele's interview. Ben, what's his mic skill?
He is a 45.
Okay.
Kind of not the strongest talker.
No. But there's still a 45% chance that his interview worked to excite the crowd. So we will make a percentile roll to check it.
And 58.
All right, it needs to be 45 or less to succeed. That one's no good. So he did not succeed in connecting with the fans during the interview to build any heat for the feud. But that's okay. Lance Von Eisner can add some heat to the feud by making his charisma check. So, you do the honors.
Yes, he's a 37,
Okay.
So it needs to be lower than that, and yeah, 27.
All right. Because Von Eisner's role is a success, his run-in and brawl built heat for the feud between these two wrestlers. This heat will accumulate over the course of several shows until the rivals eventually settle it in a match to win the feud.
Yeah.
Now, you might be asking, why is heat important? Well, the more heat a feud has, the more XP the wrestlers will earn at the conclusion of a feud. And XP works as the currency for wrestlers to improve their attributes in the game. But that's a completely different part of the rules.
Yeah, so let's get back to what we're doing here in this show. We still have one more roll to make to see if any more heat's added, and that's Andrea Allison's mic, since she was part of the situation too.
Right, interviewers and announcers can help build heat for feuds as well. So let's see how effective she was in her role as an interviewer. The chart shows that she needs a mic roll for this encounter. I have her on the show tracking sheet. The target number is a 48, so roll it up.
All right, and we have a 7 success.
Right, so that means the interviewer did her part to add heat to the feud. If we were tracking all of this, I'd record the info on their feud sheet, but instead we're just going to move along to the next part of the show. After a scenario is resolved, a match takes place. But what kind of match? What we do is roll on the random match chart, and that is going to tell us.
Yep. Get the percentile dice, and we have a 24.
All right, so the random match type chart says we're going to have a singles match. Now, we need to find out who's going to take part in the match and wrestle. First, we have to roll to find the face in the match.
Yeah, so there's 8 wrestlers, so of course we have a D8 and 4.
All right.
So we look at the face chart.
Right, we will look at the face chart, and it's going to show us Lightning Brad Andrews is going to be the face for this match. Now, he is a tag wrestler, but that does not stop a wrestler from being in singles action. Now we need our heel.
Okay, another D8 and 7.
All right, the heel side of the random wrestler chart shows us that that's going to be Alex Starr. Now we have our competitors for the match. Before any match happens, though, there's always a chance that some sort of angle could take place. A percentile roll will tell us if that occurs.
Here we go. That's the percentile dice, and we have a 49.
All right, looking at the pre-match angle chart, that shows us that there is no angle for this one. So that means we're going to go straight into the action. Now, we need to determine whether this matchup is even or if it's a mismatch. To do that, we're going to compare the total wrestler value, or the TWV, of both wrestlers in the match. So what do you have for those? You got the wrestlers.
Yes, for Andrews, we have a 379, and for Starr, 399.
All All right, because the wrestlers' TWVs are so close, that makes this an even matchup. Knowing that, we need to determine the result of the match next. That requires a roll on the even match results chart.
Okay, I'll roll the dice, and we'll see what we get. We have a 94.
All right, now, according to the even match results chart, a 94 means that this match is going to end by pinfall or submission. So now we need to find out who won the match. In an even matchup, each wrestler makes a showdown roll with 1d20. Higher number wins. It's as simple as that. If there's a tie, you re-roll until you find a winner. So who do you want?
I'll take the heel, Alex Starr.
All right, that works for me. I'll take the babyface, Brad Andrews.
I got a 16.
And I got a 3, so it looks like you're going to pull the W this time.
Score 1 for the bad guys.
Yeah. And, okay, now we get into the fun part of this. How do you think Starr would pull off this win?
Well, Starr's an aerial guy. He's a flyer, so I can see the match ending with his favorite finish, which is a 5-star frog splash.
All right, fair enough. I can't argue with that. Based on the rolls, the difference, I'd say Starr probably dominated this one.
Yeah.
I mean, your showdown roll was way higher than mine was.
Yeah, but your guy Andrews, he's a scrappy flyer, too. We're probably all over the place. Springboards, hip toss, arm drags, drop kicks, the whole 9.
Okay. Makes sense. I can see these two really battling it. Maybe Andrews had a chance to get the W, get the win. Made a mistake on one of those high-risk maneuvers we always hear about, and it cost him.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You make a mistake, I could see Starr taking advantage, hitting one of his signature moves like the Starplex, and then finish him off with his frog splash.
Oh, I think that works. So we're going to put that in the books this way. So I'll make a note of the match, in the match segment of number 1, that we had Alex Starr versus Brad Andrews, and Starr will win by pinfall. Now, normally, if we were tracking XP, this would we take care of it, the XP for this match result, and we'd figure it out right now. But we're skimming over that part of the game, and we're just highlighting how a show runs for the demo. So we're going to move off to the next part of the segment, which would be the post-match angle. Now, a post-match angle only happens if the percentile roll for the match result ends up in a doubles. So that would be an 11, 22, 33, etc. Now, when we rolled the dice, the match result was a 94, if you remember. That's not doubles. That means there's no post-match angle.
And with that, that means segment 1 of our show is done.
All right, it is time for segment 2. And because it's a new segment, we're going to start with another scenario. Let's find out what type we get this time. Percentage
dice, and we have a 15.
All right, the random scenario chart shows us we have an announce table scenario. So now the camera on a show, think about it, it cuts to the play-by-play and the color commentator sitting at the announce table, and we'll see where it goes from there.
The old 2-shot, and we have a 62.
All right, looking for the announce table scenario chart. There we go. All right, now checking the chart, it's going to read, the announcers informed that a random wrestler and his rival will have a match later in the show. The play-by-play and color both make charisma and mic checks, and both wrestlers involved in whatever this is are going to make charisma checks. So the announcers are going to tell the audience that a big rivalry match is going to happen later in this show. But to do that, we need to roll on the random wrestler chart to see who they are. We'll only need to roll once on one side of the chart, since the opponent will automatically be that wrestler's rival.
Hold on, I got an idea. I think we should use the total control aspect of the game here.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, instead of finding a random wrestler on the charts, why not make a match between Kurt Steele and Lance Von Eisner for that last match and the main event of the show? They already had a confrontation. Let's just say they were booked into the match for tonight in the main event to help settle the feud.
Okay, nice. Good idea. And so as you can see, one of the best features of TCW is that you can override parts of the game if you think a story should be told or a certain wrestler should be featured in a certain spot. Now, in this case, I think that's a great idea and a great way to set up the conclusion of our show. Now, during segment 4, which is the last segment of our show, I'm going to pencil in, segment 4 is on page 2, I'm going to pencil in Kurt Steele versus Lance Von Eisner. So that way, when we get there, there's going to be no need to roll for the wrestlers, and that one will be all set.
But we still need to make rolls for this segment to see if we got any more heat.
Yeah, for that feud, correct. So, we can make the rolls to see if the announcers were able to build the feud in the eyes of the fans. But, for the sake of brevity, we're going to skip that part of the demo since we already showed a little bit about how it worked back in segment 1.
Alright, so that's good for me. So now we'll need a match for segment 2. And a 71.
Alright, the random match type chart tells me that we're going to have us a tag team match. So let's roll to find our faces first.
Okay, 1d8 on the face chart, 7.
Alright, the face chart number 7 shows me Sam Noble. So he's usually a singles wrestler, but he can always team up with another single. So let's see where the next roll takes us.
Our dice roll, 1.
Alright, so his partner, it comes up on a 1, and that is Surfin' Scott Wavy. He's another singles wrestler, but, you know, they could team up for the night. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's an odd couple, a surfer dude and your classic pro wrestler.
We've seen worse,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so who will this crazy combo wrestle tonight?
So we get our D8 again on the heel side of the chart, and it's a 4.
All right, that would be Phil the Foot Taylor. Now, he has a regular partner, One Punch Owen Sampson, so we don't need to roll again. They're just going to team up to face Wavy and Noble. Now, up next, we check to see if there is a pre-match angle.
So we get the percentile, and we have a 39.
The pre-match chart tells me that there is no pre-match angle on this one either. So that means we're going to move straight to the match. For a tag team match, we add the total wrestler values of the wrestlers on each team, and we get a combined total wrestler value for that team. So what do you have over there for Wavy and Noble?
Okay, so Wavy's is 345, and Noble's is 347, so 692.
All right, so we have the faces, 692.
Yeah.
I got a note here just to have it. And what do we got for the heels?
Heels, let's see, the foot is 347, and One Punch is 393. You may want to double check, but that is 740.
Yes, 740. Now, the difference in total wrestler values is just close enough that this still stays an even match. So, first, we need to find the result of the match. So we'll have a percentile roll for that.
And 55.
All right. The even match results chart shows we're going to have a disqualification. Now, we need to know which team got the win. So, who do you want for the showdown roll this time?
I'll take the heel side of things.
You would.
And we got a 12.
All right. And for the makeshift team of Wavy and Noble, we're going to get us a 19. So, a bit of a surprise here.
Yeah, but it was a DQ win.
Right. But, so, okay. Do you think your heels did something to cause their own loss here?
Oh, of course, they're heels. I could see them controlling the match for the most part, using the fact they're a regular tag team.
All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. But then the faces, they always get that big comeback. Somewhere along the lines, they take back the momentum of the match.
Yeah, what if they, I get that, what if they get Phil the Foot down and in some trouble to the point where Owen Sampson's on the outside of the ring, he keeps trying to get in, keeps being put out by the referee. Eventually, he's going to lose his temper with the ref, constantly pushing him back to the corner, and finally gets through his way through and helps out his partner, but the referee will end up DQing him.
Okay, so he pushed the referee down, out of the way. That works, makes sense. The heel team that should win didn't get control of the face, got frustrated, cost themselves the match.
We're good on that?
Yep, we're good on that. So I think it fits the story pretty well, the match.
Yep.
And again, we're going to skip the XP part for this match. You can learn about that in the rule book. I know I keep saying it, but that's what you do. Up next, though, is the post-match angle possibility. What was the roll for the result?
55, and you know what that means.
That's doubles.
Yeah.
We're going to have a post-match angle.
Okay.
So let's see what happens when you roll on the post-match angle chart.
Percentage, and we have a 32.
All right, the post-match angle chart reads this. The loser's rival comes out on the ramp and cuts a promo on the loser. The loser chases the rival to the back. The rival makes a mic roll. The loser makes charisma rolls. The play-by-play and the color make mic rolls to try to get the whole scenario over.
Okay, so the rivals for the fist and the foot are the Lightning Express, right?
Yep.
Andrews and Jeffries.
Andrews and Jeffries, that is correct. So they'll come out
Yeah.
on the ring to taunt Sampson and Taylor,
Yeah.
the fist and the foot.
Well, considering they're an experienced team, that just lost to a thrown together team, I imagine they're going to poke a little fun at the foot and the fist for that.
That would make sense. I mean, you could just kind of hear them coming out there laughing. You guys can't compete with a real team. How can you guys compete with a real team like us? You can't even beat two guys who haven't trained together for years, haven't worked together for years, don't know each other like the back of their hand. Right.
So, well, we know that Samson's got a temper. It's in his character page as well as in the result of the match. So, you know, he's going to be boiling up with it, and eventually he's going to chase him down the ramp.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Jeffries and Andrews, they weren't here looking for a fight.
No.
Right?
No.
They just wanted to get under their rival's skin a little bit, poke some fun, make them look bad in front of the crowd, get over on them a little bit.
Yeah.
So Jeffries and Andrews, they duck backstage before anything can happen, knowing that they irked their rivals just a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm good with that, and I think that rounds out our second segment, segment 2.
Right. Now, we usually make the rolls here to check if the post-match angle increased the heat of the feud between these two teams. We're going to skip over that and move into segment 3 of the show next.
Time for segment 3 now, and a new scenario. So we have our percentage dice, and we have a 46.
All right, the random segment chart shows us a heel 3 segment. So let's see which heel gets featured here.
D8, and we have an 8.
All right, so who do we have on the heel side? That would be Kenzie Starr. So wonder what kind of shenanigans she's going to get into tonight.
We'll go back to the dice, and the result, 27.
All right, and I find heel chart number 3, and it's going to read as follows. The heel, shown in the parking lot, destroys rival's vehicle. Heel charisma, play-by-play in color, Mike.
And Kenzie's up to some major trouble here. Her rival is Fireball, Renata Vasquez, right?
Yes, Fireball. The former MMA fighter turned pro wrestler.
So Renata's definitely a tough customer here. I'm thinking, what kind of vehicle do you think, Jeff? It's not a BMX. It's probably a motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Red one, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Customized, her Fireball logo design. The works, right?
Yep. And Kenzie knows how important that bike is to Renata, so why not kind of give it a little look over while she's not looking?
All right. Okay. So what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking let's go nuts here. All right. So Kenzie's outside, waves over somebody driving a pickup truck and a trailer. We see Kenzie open the door. She pushes the bike up the ramp, slams the door shut, smacks the back of the truck, and it is gone.
Okay. All right. So she stole the bike, didn't destroy it. I can work with that.
So it gets better. Wait. So Kenzie goes around to another truck with a trailer and wheels out a little 3-wheel red tricycle and puts it in the same spot the motorcycle was. And it's decked out the way any 3-year-old would have. It's got ribbons on the handlebars, a little bell on the front, even a vanity plate that says Fireball, FR Ball.
Okay. Now, you did say you were going over the top here.
Hey, but that will work. Instead of outright destroying the bike, it'd probably make her more mad.
Right, sure. And now the story could run for a long while, for several shows, until Renata gets her revenge and hopefully gets her bike back somehow.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that would be a stipulation for their big match to settle the feud down the road at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, let me jot that down here on scenario 3.
Okay, and if we were doing the full-scale game here and tracking all the heat of the feud, we'd roll for the heel charisma here, as well as the play-by-play and the color commentators' mic skills.
Right. The heel charisma for her actions, plus the announcers for their part in getting these actions over with the crowd and trying to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, so now that scenario 3 is done, we're on to a match, and let's see what kind of match we get. And we have a 4.
All right. The random match chart shows... You get the right one?
Yep.
It's a singles match.
Okay.
So, let's find our participants.
Okay, we got a DA here on the face side, and we have Scott Wavy again.
So 1, yeah.
Yes. So wrestlers can only have one match a night, so we need to re-roll that since he's already wrestled. So we get our D8, roll again, and it is a 6.
Right, and that would be David Terrian, one half of the tag team known as the Odyssey. So, who will be his heel opponent?
Okay, another D8, and we have a 5.
Right. And that would be the rival from the other side of the chart there, and it's Ogre. So, from the Creature Connection tag team and their rivals. So that's going to further their tag team feud, even though it's a singles match. Now we'll find out, is there a pre-match angle here?
Got it. And we'll throw the percentage dice, and it's, what is that, 79.
Okay. We do have us an angle here
All
this
right.
time. All right. The pre-match angle chart is going to read, before the match, one wrestler tries to attack the opponent. The opponent sees it coming, uses the momentum against the wrestler, add 3d4 to each wrestler's XP after the match.
Okay, so now we need to find out which wrestler was the aggressor, the attacker. When this happens, we roll one die and consult the top row of a random wrestler chart. An odd-numbered roll is a face, and an even-numbered roll is a heel. Mm-hmm. We'll take the dice here, and it is 6. Yeah. So that means Ogre, the heel, tried to ambush Tarion before the match gets started.
But according to the pre-match angle, Tarion was able to get out of the way and seize control of this for himself.
Yeah, and I can see Ogre. God love him. He's not the brightest bulb. While Tarion's climbing through the ropes for his entrance, Ogre figures he'll just try and get a jump on Tarion before he's ready to go.
Now, Tarion, he's familiar with these guys. They're in a rivalry. He has to be ready for some sort of sneaky stuff to be going on with Ogre.
Right, and when Ogre attacks, Tarion slides under the ropes, comes up behind the confused Ogre, and it's always good to get behind a confused Ogre, and he takes the advantage.
All right, so that sounds like we have a pretty good start for the match. Now we need to determine the conclusion of the match. What are the total wrestler values for these two?
Okay, looking up, Tarion has a 425, while Ogre is a 339. It's a big difference.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Enough to make this a mismatch. Now, for a mismatch, one percentile roll on the mismatch results chart will determine both the winner of the match and how the match ended. That chart is weighted to give an advantage to the favorite of a match, but still makes it very possible for the underdog to score a win here and there. So, we're going to roll those dice and see how it happens.
78.
All right, the roll on the mismatch chart, 78, shows a count-out win for the favorite. That gives Tarion the W.
Yeah, and maybe Ogre was, again, not the brightest guy in the world, completely thrown off by the attack, or by the sneak attack when it did not work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. He just never gets back on track. Tarion maintains control probably through most of the match, maybe countering everything Ogre tries, whether it's legal moves or even illegal moves, him being a heel and all, trying to get back into things. Yeah,
Ogre probably just had enough, bailed to the outside, took the count-out loss instead of being embarrassed any further.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
What about this? All right, Tarion keeps Ogre off balance constantly, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, he's going to knock him outside to the floor. All right? He's going to follow Ogre out, taking the fight to him out there, no let-up. They are
they're rival.
Right. So, Ogre, desperate move. Not the smartest move, as we've talked about. Tries to tackle Tarion maybe into the timekeeper area.
Yeah, and this is where it gets crazy. Tarion moves or olays him into something, and he just goes crashing. Then you see wires, cables, table, chairs, barricades, grandma, everybody down there who is or everything and everybody that's down at ringside.
You're right. I'm good with that. Yeah. That makes sense.
Then Ogre's down. He's all tired, tangled, wrapped up, completely out of sorts. Can't get himself together and get back in the ring to beat the count, while Tarion's just kind of taking it easy against the rope, shaking his head in disbelief of the ineptitude that he sees outside the ring.
I like it. It helps keep the feud going. Also kind of tells the story that the big guy can be the weak link in the team. So I'm going to put that down on the match and show scenario. And again, normally we would handle the XP stuff here. We're only focusing on the show and the demo, not the stats and the bells and the whistles that you can add to the game.
So we're now on to segment 4. So let's see what scenario we get here. We have a 30.
Okay. The random scenario chart is showing me a Phase 2 segment, so let's see who's going to be the focus here.
D8 and a 7. That's Sam Noble.
That is Sam Noble, yes. And while he has already wrestled tonight, he hasn't had a scenario on the show yet, so he can still be used. Let's see what he's doing.
We have a 13.
All right. I'm going to get the Phase 2 chart in a second here, and it's going to read... The face is shown in the locker room. He's approached by another random face to discuss the possible alliance or partnership. Face may choose to accept or decline with no bonus or penalty. Both make a charisma roll, and each can increase the heat for their respective feuds.
And I think I see a good story with this one, too. No need to make that roll for a random face. After teaming up earlier in the show, maybe Noble tracks down Wavy in the back and proposes a partnership, like, let's do this tonight together.
All right, that's reasonable,
yeah.
All things considered.
Mm-hmm.
But what if Wavy doesn't exactly want to be partners? I mean, he's a surfer dude, kind of laid back, relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they can kind of be allies, watch each other's back, team up occasionally, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going full bore, oh, we got, you know, we're going to be a team after one sort of successful match that we had.
And I can see that, and I'm good with that. Over the next several shows, we'll just see how things go with them. If either is chosen for a tag match, we'll just use the other one as his partner instead of a random one.
That works, and then it could develop into something more, or just kind of stay a loose alliance. Mm-hmm. We'll wind up finding that out as time goes on.
So now it's time to bring up match number 4, which is our last one of the show.
And that one is already set.
Yeah.
There's no need to roll for the wrestlers here. This was brought to us by the charts, plus the use of a little total control action.
So Kirk Construction Worker Steel is set to square off with Lance Von Eisner. They are rivals, so this could really build up the heat in their feud.
All right, yeah, we're going to see how things go. Mm-hmm. First, we need each wrestler's total wrestler value.
So Steele's is 385. Mm-hmm. Eisner, 344.
Right. And that is close enough to make it an even match.
Yes.
So let's find out the conclusion of this match. Make that match result roll.
And we have an 80.
Yes, we do. The even match result chart gives us a double disqualification.
So no winner.
No winner or loser.
Okay, I got this one. These guys obviously dislike each other greatly. Match was hard hitting, punch, kick, all over the ring.
I'm sure it was not just in the ring, outside of it at times too.
Oh yeah, after probably about 10 minutes or so into the match, they dump onto the floor, grappling, struggling, trying to get a jersey over their head. A hockey fight. They tumble through the ropes to the floor. Nobody lets go. They're still after it.
All right, so now we're just into a pure brawl between these two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Ref has lost control. He's trying to count them out.
Yeah, they managed to roll back in just in time, but they're still tangled up, beating on each other. The ref tries to get between them and separate them, get it back to a wrestling match, but they just don't let up.
So then they bump into the ref, right?
Absolutely. Well, not this time. We already had the ref get pushed when these two were just scrapping and fighting and clawing till they end up back out on the floor. The ref makes the count. They don't care. He stops the count, jumps down to try to get between them and get them back in the ring. No luck. Finally, has nothing else to do other than call for the bell and DQ them both.
Okay, well, there was a lot going on there. You wore me out with that match there.
Well, you can picture with the sea of referees and zebras coming down, officials coming out one more time to try and separate Von Eisner and Steele, and that's how the show could go off the air, hot and still fighting.
Okay, and so the show wraps up kind of the way it starts, with Steele and Von Eisner going at it. Nothing really settled between these two guys.
And that's the beauty of it. It sets up so many possibilities for them for the next show and a lot of shows going forward.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
And with that, we've reached the conclusion of the wrestling show and our gameplay video. Mm-hmm. We hope you enjoyed this small sample of what Total Control Wrestling is. All that's left now is for you to take wrestling tabletop gaming to the next level by taking Total Control.